Hello, this is Diana from Artfully Yours, and as you can see, I've already done the underpainting for this painting, and I've put a piece of tape down to keep a straight line between at the horizon line between the sky and the water, and I'm going to be painting with straight cerulean blue with it's about a 2-inch flat brush, and for the underpainting, that was cerulean blue, a wash, kind of like a wash of cerulean blue for the sky, and that was a cobalt blue. You can do a thin wash of the cobalt blue for the water, and then I did yellow ochre for the beach, and that was my underpainting. And now while the cerulean blue paint was still wet, I'm going in with a paint it could be a 1/2 inch or less. It could be a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch around there with a round brush. Definitely should be a round brush, not a flat brush. And circular motion, and then I'm making the bottom, I blend out the bottom flat. And I just want to tell you a tip for when you mask out tape like that for making straight lines. I'm using painter's tape, and you stick down the tape, and then on the very edge that you're going to be painting on, you paint you paint matte medium on the edge, like maybe an inch wide band that overlaps, like that's half of the paintbrush is on the tape, half the paintbrush is on the canvas, and just paint matte medium right there all across the length of the tape. Let it dry and start painting, and that way paint will not be, because even though you have tape down, sometimes paint seeps underneath the tape. So this way, having the matte varnish, that will seal up, that will totally seal up the edge of the tape. And so yeah, I'm painting with the straight white, but I am because the cerulean blue is wet, I'm allowing it to mix. Especially the bottoms of the clouds are darker than the tops of the clouds, so I'm going back and forth and blending and mixing that more so that the clouds at the bottom are darker, and just letting the paint on the canvas mix with the white. Then I'm drying it, and I'm going to be adding more clouds and adding the white highlights at the top of the clouds. So right now, I didn't like the shape of that cloud, so and that's a flat brush. I think that's a flat brush. With the flat brush is what I use for correcting that. You could use a round brush too. I don't know why that. For that cloud at the bottom, I'm changing the shape of it, so that's why I was painting over that. So it made that cloud smaller, and I'm going to add more clouds. And I add more clouds right with the straight white with circular motion. So I'm adding a little cloud in front of that cloud. Also, I had already dried those 3 big clouds that I had done, so I want to show you the technique I use them for those other clouds, because this one is a new cloud. Right, I'm toning that down because that should not be straight white at the bottom there. And I'm adding another cloud there. now I paint with straight white with the one brush, which could be quarter or half-inch round, and then I take a dry round brush, which I'll show you that in the next step. Now I'm using that's a dry round brush with no paint on it at all, and it's dry. And I do a circular motion over the whole cloud, not just the top of it. But first, definitely, while the paint is wet, getting the top edge, and then I go over with a straight motion. I went over a little bit on the bottom of the cloud. You just keep doing it till you get a very blended, cloudy, misty effect. The dry brush is really good for blending out that paint. So I'm using two brushes, and now I'm using the dry brush to blend out the paint. So I added one more cloud. It definitely needed another cloud right there. I'm blending out the bottom of it too. So with that one, yes, I paint with the white, and then I'm blending out with the dry brush, both the top, circular motions at the top, and some side to side, and some circular motions at the bottom, but I'm blending it out more because I want it to be darker, dark shadow, a shadow at the bottom of the cloud. Now that the clouds are done and they're dried, I put painter's tape now going the other way so that it's blocking off some of the sky, and there's a straight line for the horizon line for the ocean, and the same tip as before, and that's about a 2-inch flat brush. Same tip as before. You lay down the tape, press it down, rub and press, and then you paint excuse me, at the edge of the tape you paint on matte medium and let that dry, and then paint, and that will seal the edge of your tape so paint doesn't seep under. So right now I'm painting with straight cobalt blue, making sure your brush strokes are going side to side, horizontal. And there my paint got a little bit too drippy, so I wiped it with a paper towel. Now while the paint is still wet, I'm going to be using Ultramarine blue for painting right on top of the edge of the tape and about a 1/2 inch down and blending it out. So that's the darkest part near the horizon line. And the cobalt blue paint still is wet, so I'm blending the ultramarine blue into that. And then blending down a little bit, so blend it out. So you don't have a hard line. And I just want the ultramarine blue right there, like about a 1/2 inch or 1 inch right at the horizon line. So now I'm using about a 1/2 inch flat brush, and with white, straight white, and as you can see, the white just mixes with the wet blue that's already on the canvas. Just making straight lines here and there. But near the horizon line, they have to be really small lines, and they can be closer together, really fine lines. As they get closer to the beach, they can get thicker white lines and wider apart. Right now, I'm painting a wave that's kind of right near the horizon line, and I'm using a 1/2 inch flat brush and kind of painting it curved. It's not a straight line down. I'm trying to fix that top edge, but when I do the top edge, I don't want to see brush strokes going across. So even though I'm going across right now, I'm going to pull that down. I'm going to pull that down slightly curved lines, brush stroke lines, and then I'm tapping to create the splash effect. Later on, after this is dry, I will be going back onto the wave and adding highlights. So now again, just randomly here and there, don't make any kind of pattern, randomly here and there, and as it's closer to the beach, the lines can get wider, they could be brighter, and they're also further apart. Up near the horizon line, which I haven't done any yet, those are, right now I'm going to do them. Those are finer lines and closer together, and blend it in with the blue. They should not stand out too much. They should not stand out too white. Like that one's too white, so you just use my finger. And this is all done while the cobalt blue water is still wet. So now with straight white, with a little bit of water added, just slight amount of little water that I mixed on my palette plate. Right now I want to add some white streaky highlights. And that is a round brush, which is it's probably it's the same size round brush I was using, so whatever, that's about between a quarter, it's probably quarter or half-inch round brush. Now I'm painting on more of adding more splash, making sure it's whiter. And this is about it could be a half-inch or 1-inch round brush. And I mixed cerulean blue with white to really get a pale right there, if you could see that pale blue. And that's an example of the color that it should be. It's kind of a pale bluish green like that. And because when I'm painting right here, it's not showing the true color, so that's why I'm going to be showing that photo periodically through this part of the video to show you the true color, because that looks like I'm painting with straight white and I'm not. It's cerulean blue mixed with a lot of white, so you're getting a pale greenish blue, like aqua. It's pretty much an aqua, light aqua color. The 1-inch round brush would probably be best for this because I'm painting in a big area. So I'm showing again the photo of how it's the kind of aqua color that you're really painting with it. It's not white the way it's showing right there. Right there I'm dry brushing a blend That's one way of blending in acrylics of the pale blue over top of the cobalt blue, because the cobalt blue is dry by now, so I'm painting with a light wet brush and painting over that, and that's one way to blend. And that is around a 1/4 inch round brush. And I'm going to tap it in. I'm tapping, and it creates the foamy water effect. And that's just with straight white. And now painting just straight. Well, they're slightly curved. They can be curved, straight, little white line, like the white lines, medium width white lines to indicate some kind of water movement. Now you could keep the waves, the wave that's coming on the beach, that pale blue color. I added a third one coming in to fill up more of that empty beach. And if you see in the final photo, also the ones that I was showing you earlier on while I was painting this, to try to show you the true color here.